Hello, if you're joining me. My name's Joanne Doe. I'm a practitioner at Natural Healing Center, and tonight's Facebook Live topic is all about poop. So, hi Laura, welcome to our Facebook Live. If you and anyone else on here has any questions throughout, feel free to leave them in the comments or just say hello. Thank you for joining. But again, our Facebook topic tonight is all about poop. So, we all have bowel movements. It's a good thing. And so there's nothing to be shy or ashamed of. If you have any questions, this is a question I ask about every time I meet with a client, how their bowel movements are, what they look like, how often they're going, because bowel movements, how our stool looks, how often we're going, is really good indication of the health of our digestive system and our bowel health. And so it's good for us to talk about and to know what are the signs of healthy poop and maybe unhealthy poop, and what we can do in terms of diet and lifestyle to support healthy bowel movements. So the first thing that I want to go over is how often you should be pooping. So this is going to differ from person to person, and in a lot of the research that I've done around this, a lot of times I see that a normal bowel activity is anywhere between 3 times a week to 3 times a day. However, in this case, I wouldn't consider normal optimal in working with clients to improve their health naturally. I'm really working with them to make sure that they're having at least 1 bowel movement a day, and then if they're having 2 or 3, even better. And why is that important? So one of the main reasons we have bowel movements is to be able to rid and detox our body of waste and toxins. And so if you're not going to the bathroom every day, then what's happening is your body can reabsorb those toxins, which puts an extra burden on your body and also your liver in particular. Another thing to consider is included in those toxins that your body is trying to eliminate can be excess hormones. So if you're constipated and your body is reabsorbing those excess hormones, then it can lead to a hormone imbalance, because now those hormones are being reactivated as they recirculate through your body. So on the flip side of that, we don't want you necessarily going to the bathroom 4, 5, 6 times a day, every day too. Food still needs some time to be able to move through your digestive system properly, and so that you're able to soak in all the nutrients that your body needs. And if your stool is moving and if your food and your stool is moving too fast, then it's not going to have that opportunity to absorb the nutrients from it. Any questions on frequency of bowel movements, let me know, but we're really going for 1 to a few a day. And then let's talk about what your poop should look like. So ideally, healthy poops should look long, soft, smooth, firm, but still moist, and medium brown in color. Medium brown, dark brown. In general, if your poops are larger and longer, it's more indicative of better health than small, clumpy ones. The target poop size is about 4 to 8 inches long. There is what's called the Bristol stool chart that's been around for decades, and it breaks stool down into 7 categories based on texture and appearance. And you can look this up. It's widely available if you just Google it on the internet. But then you'll see that there's type 1 and type 2. So up at the top here. So type 1 is these separate hard lumps. They're kind of pebble-like. And this is an indication of being very constipated. Whereas this type 2, it's all one, it's formed, right? But it's also lumpy and sausage-like, so this is indicative of being slightly constipated. So if your stool looks like type 1 and type 2, you may experience that it's going to be harder to pass. You might experience bloating, stomach pain, rectal strain, and this typically occurs when food is moving through the digestive tract too slowly, okay? and then it's drying up along the way, essentially. Okay, so type 3 and 4, which is down here. Type 3 is a like sausage shape with cracks on the surface, and type 4 is also sausage or snake-like, but it's soft and smooth. It kind of looks like toothpaste coming out of the bottle, or the bottle. So these are normal. This is what you're looking for in your stool. And then down here, this also with these, you know, they're going to be easy to pass without any fuss or without any pain. And I'll bring this a little bit closer. So I'm going to go to, this is type 5 down here. And so this is soft blobs with clear cut edges. And what this can be an indication of is not enough fiber. Okay, so you can up your fiber intake from whole foods such as veggies, lettuce, beets. You could also do raw nuts and seeds. Chia seeds are great for bowel movements, and then also fruit as well has good fiber. And then you have type 6 here, and these are fluffy pieces with ragged edges. This is like kind of like mushy stool. So this is what we would consider like mild diarrhea or inflammation. 5 and 6, these are loose stools that are easier to pass, but they may mean that you also have mild diarrhea, and you may also experience gas, discomfort, and stomach pains. This typically occurs, type 5 and 6, when you have more water in your stool and less fiber. So what you can try doing is upping your fiber intake, although I would do it gradually as opposed to like too much all at once, to help soak up the water in your stool and prevent diarrhea. And then down here you have type 7, that is liquid consistency with no solid pieces. So this would be severe diarrhea and inflammation. So this one is, if you're experiencing, you might experience a persistent and urgent need to go to the bathroom. You might also have trouble holding your bowel movements in, and also this is an indication of your digestive system being inflamed. And we're going to talk a little bit more about constipation and diarrhea in a moment, and I'll give you some indications of why that might be happening, and then also what you can do to help support yourself in those instances. So let's talk a little bit about color of your poop. So healthy stools, which should look like medium to dark brown in color, and sometimes you might notice that your stool is different colors, and that can be from the certain foods that you eat. It can also be an indication of a more serious health condition. So if you ever notice that your stool is black, this can be an indication of internal bleeding in the upper GI tract, maybe in the stomach. However, that's not necessarily the case, so it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. So certain foods like black licorice, or if you've had Pepto-Bismol, or if you're taking iron supplements, these can also turn stool black temporarily. If your stool is red, this can be an indication of internal bleeding in like the lower GI tract, so maybe like the intestines or the rectum. And this can be a result of inflammation, like inflammatory bowel disease. It could be because of hemorrhoids. And then again, it could also be from certain foods that you're having. Like if you're having a lot of like cranberries or beets, that can turn your stool red. Another color that you might notice is yellow. And this is, it may be an indication that your body is having a hard time absorbing nutrients from food, and it can, kind of like a malabsorption issue, and it can indicate excess fats or like undigested fats in your stool. So it can be, it can point to an issue with like liver or gallbladder function. And also yellow stool can be indicative of a parasitic infection as well. If your stool is gray or white, it may be that you're lacking bile in your stool, and again, it would point to a liver or gallbladder issue. And this can also happen if you are taking certain medications as well. Green stool, this can be from eating green vegetables, but it can also mean that your food is moving too quickly through your GI tract, and so it's not going from green to that brown color, basically. from what I know, it goes from like black to green to brown. And so once it comes out, it's brown. Okay, other signs of healthy bowel movements that you'll want to take a note of is it should feel like a full elimination. So you should feel a sense of relief after going to the bathroom. Even if your stool looks like it's in this good like 3 to 4 type, but it's only like a few inches long, it still can be a sign that it's a little bit slow moving through your digestive tract. You want to be able to go to the bathroom without having to return shortly after, so you want to get everything emptied out. Another thing you want to take notice of is if you are seeing like undigested food in your stool. One exception to that, is corn, which I talked about on my last Facebook Live. That's a hard grain for the body to break down because of certain proteins it includes. So you may very well see corn in your stool, but in general, if you're seeing undigested food in your stool, it can mean that your body doesn't have enough enzymes or stomach acid to be able to break down your foods. I covered in another Facebook Live why it's so important that we have stomach acid to be able to break down our foods and absorb the nutrients, but also for the health of our immune system in neutralizing infections from like virus, bacteria, parasites in the upper GI tract, as opposed to allowing it to infiltrate further into our bodies. So things like pathogens, chemicals, stress, and some medications can cause damage to the digestive system, and when that happens, it can affect how our body produces enzymes, and if we're able to produce enough of them to support us in getting the nutrients we need from our food. In addition to that, another thing you want to note with bowel movements is you want to be able to pass them fairly easily without any fuss. You shouldn't be having to sit and strain on the toilet for 10 minutes or 20, 30. It depends on the person, but it should be happening fairly quickly. And if not, then it could be a sign that you're constipated. If you need to go to the bathroom, a sign of a healthy bowel health would be that you're able to hold it for a short amount of time if you need to. Obviously, I would encourage you to go to the bathroom if you're able to as soon as you can, but in the case that you can't hold your bowel movements, that you have to run to the bathroom right away, that can be a sign of something going on that needs to be addressed in terms of your bowel health. And then another thing to consider is if you're only going to the bathroom when you drink coffee, what caffeine in the coffee does is it relaxes the muscles that allows for you to go to the bathroom. So if that's the case with you, I would consider, trying to titrate down on coffee for a few days and see if you can have a bowel movement on your own. And then, if so, great. And if not, then reasons to take a look into that. So what can you do to support healthy bowel movements? So one thing that's really important is making sure that you're hydrated. So you want to be drinking lots of water, approximately half your body weight in ounces a day. So say someone weighs 150 pounds, then they want to be going for about 75 ounces or a little bit more ounces of water a day. And then another thing that is really important for bowel movements is fiber. So eat a diet that is high in fiber and focus on getting fiber from whole food sources. So veggies are great for fiber, leafy greens, which have a lot of magnesium, which also act to relax those muscles that allow for bowel movements. Beets are really great. Lettuce, chew your lettuce really good. Raw nuts, raw seeds, chia, flax, almonds. Even better if you soak your seeds, and I'll get to that in a moment, and fruits. But I always say, go for having 3 to 4 times as many veggies as you do fruits. A lot of times I hear from new clients that they're having more fruits than veggies or half-half, but Even though fruits are really great in terms of vitamins and minerals, there is like some sugar content in there as well. So you want to make sure that you're putting more of the focus on your vegetables. Another thing that can help with bowel movements is getting physical activity. Basically, the muscles, you're just having muscle contractions in your GI tract that moves the stool along. So what would be, when you're able to move your body more, you support that drainage. So go for 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. That's 30 minutes, 5 times a week. If that seems like a lot right now, then start small. So maybe you go with just one 30-minute session, and then you build up to 2, 3, 4, then 5. With exercise, I always say find something you like to do. So if you're not a gym person, don't feel the need to go to the gym. Go for a walk, go for a run, do yoga, go to a Pilates class. There's so many things that you can try, so don't force yourself to do something that you don't enjoy. Take the time to, have physical activity be an act of self-care, and spending time doing something that you love, and also allowing it to be an opportunity to mitigate stress in your life. Avoid smoking, okay, that's another one. And you want to maintain a healthy weight that is right for you. And also use the restroom when you need to go. Don't hold it as best you can, okay? You can train your body to kind of go to the bath, to get into a routine with your bowel movements. So for example, that would look like trying to go to the bathroom like every morning upon waking or after breakfast, going to the bathroom at that time. And don't rush yourself, just allow yourself to relax, breathe deeply, and your body will kind of get used to like, just like your body gets used to having breakfast every morning, like, it's time for breakfast. It very much well could be the same, where it's like, it's time to have a bowel movement now. So those are some tips for supporting healthy bowel movements. And I want to get into a little bit about constipation and diarrhea. These are very common symptoms we see here with clients at Natural Healing Center, and constipation and diarrhea can happen for various reasons, but basically it can occur when those intestinal contractions that I was talking about that moves your food and your stool through your GI tract, they either are like speeding up, and that's when like diarrhea is happening, when food's moving through the GI tract really fast, or it's when it slows down, which is when constipation is happening, and the stool or the food is moving through really slowly. So some factors that can cause constipation and diarrhea would be an infection like viruses, parasites, bacteria. It could be potential food intolerances like gluten sensitivity or dairy intolerance. It can be because of the amount of fiber in your diet. So if you're not having enough fiber, having looser stools, or if you are changing up your diet really quickly and you're kind of going from having a little bit of fiber to a lot, it can actually get you constipated then. If you're taking certain medications and vitamins, one thing that comes to mind is iron. It can affect how many bowel movements that you're having a day. Maybe you're not drinking enough water. That can be indicative of constipation. Lack of exercise, that can affect your bowel movements. More so lack of exercise being related to constipation, more so than diarrhea. And then you're not going to the bathroom when you have that urge to go. So do go to the bathroom when you need to. And then specifically for constipation, I want to give you some tips on what would be beneficial. And I'm going to give you a few, and then you don't have to do all these, but just things to keep in mind. So a sauerkraut is really great for constipation. You could eat like a golf ball size when you're feeling constipated. It's really high in water and also in fiber. Another good one is eat chia seeds or flax seeds, but before you eat them, you want to soak them really well in water. So you could do like 1 to 2 tablespoons of chia or flax in water, and you let it sit for a while. If you like 30 minutes plus, let them plump up, just kind of like wooden, like chia pudding. But what it does is the seeds form like this gel-like substance when they're soaked, and they can basically kind of move through the digestive tract more easily and kind of sweep things up along the way, so it can support bowel movements that way. Another thing you want to do is make sure that when you're eating peacefully without distraction. So you're not like on the go, you're not on your phone, maybe not watching TV, that you are sitting down, that you're taking the time to really chew your food. As I said in the Facebook Live on gut health, digestion really starts in our mouth. And so there's an opportunity to sit down, to chew your food really, really well, especially if you're having digestive issues. Go for like 30 times of chewing before you swallow it. And then another thing is you may want to consider like a digestive enzyme. This is especially true if you're noticing those undigested foods in your stool. That's because of your body's potential inability to break down foods, maybe that there's insufficient amount of enzymes. So there's one that there's a few that we test for here at Natural Healing Center, but one of our go-tos is called Zypan. It's from Standard Process, and it's essentially hydrochloric acid to help your body break down foods, especially proteins. If you are experiencing constipation, another thing that you can consider is blending your like foods, especially like if you make a little concoction of lettuce and water, olive oil, celery, cucumber, like green non-starchy vegetables, blending them and drinking them, and then also focusing on soft foods. So like eggs would be really good, like scrambled eggs, things that like are already like basically broken down, like you got in a head start breaking them down so that your body has like an easier job moving things along through your digestive tract. What can help is salt. So like if you're putting like a decent amount of salt in water and then drinking it, like sea salt, like a good quality salt, let's say sea salt, that can help to float bowel movements out. If you don't want to do that, you could also consider doing an Epsom salt bath, and that's a way to absorb the salts in your body. For bowel movements and for constipation in particular, breathing, you have to breathe. So you could, it's really helpful to practice like deep breathing or breathing exercises to help calm your nervous system, especially when you're on the toilet. You want to not be stressed. You want to just be relaxed, taking deep breaths if you need to. And then with that said, create a calming environment for your bathroom where you have privacy. Give yourself the time, no pressure to be done super quick. And then the posture that you have can also affect your bowel movements. So for people who are constipated, you can get like a footstool, and if you don't have one, you can kind of mimic the same position. So you're like hunched over slightly, and you're bringing your knees closer towards your chest so they're higher than your hips, like you're squatting. That can help with moving bowel movements along for constipation. So what I just talked about was mainly for constipation. It's from time to time, and it's not something I recommend to everyone in every case, but if you're also having chronic constipation, an enema could be helpful. And that, yes, it's like it helps with constipation, but also it's more so like making sure it's cleaning your colon of the toxins that can accumulate. So if you have any questions on that, there's different ones you can do. So there's a water enema, There's a chamomile tea enema, and then beyond that, there's like a coffee enema, and it kind of goes up from like gentle to the coffee. So they're not as bad as you think, and they're really good at cleansing out the body. Okay. Okay, and then tips for diarrhea. So say you have a sudden bout of diarrhea, it can be indicative of an infection. And so what I would say is, when you have constipation, you're eating the sauerkraut, but when you have diarrhea, what can help is if you're drinking the sauerkraut juice. So you do like 2 to 3 big gulps of the sauerkraut juice, and then you just allow yourself to lie down. You don't necessarily want to be standing up, because if you're having diarrhea, that juice is kind of just running in and out. But if you're lying down, then your body has more of the opportunity to absorb. And what sauerkraut has is a bunch of good probiotics, so it helps to reestablish the gut flora. If you're having diarrhea, you also want to avoid foods that are known to irritate the stomach and cause loose stools. So caffeine, processed foods, spicy foods, dairy, and alcohol, I would completely cut those off for the time being. And if you're having diarrhea, you also want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, so that you're drinking plenty of waters, and also electrolyte containing beverages, which could be like unsweetened coconut milk, or there's sugar-free electrolyte mixes that would be good. Also, like celery juice would be good. Increase your fiber intake from veggies to bulk up your stool. And then something else to keep in mind is diarrhea is also an indication of being overly exhausted. So consider doing less. Is there anything that's like physically too stimulating? So like coffee, or like your workouts are really hard, or it could even be like mental and emotional stimulation. Like, is it like too much going on at work, too much on your plate at home? Like, what can you do less of? What can you delegate? What can wait? And give yourself just the time to kind of rest and take care of yourself. Okay, so we work with clients in a program, and what we do is we always start with digestion. And that's the beginning of our program. We want to make sure that your body is going to be able to absorb the nutrients it needs from its foods, that it's also going to have the opportunity to eliminate waste products faster. And so that's where we start with all of our clients. We test everyone for food sensitivities, so they know the foods that are causing inflammation that they can start to reduce or avoid, in addition to any immune challenges, pathogens, virus, bacteria, yeast, any stressors like chemicals, metals, that type of thing, so that we can address those stressors, take them off the body, and aid them in bringing the body back into balance. And when that happens, it has the best opportunity to heal itself with whatever conditions may be going on. So we start with an initial consultation. It takes place over 2 days' time. Day 1 is all about testing and getting to know you. Day 2 is a meeting to go over the results of your testing and our recommendations. And then we have a roadmap for your health journey that we will support you with all along the way, through nutritional guidance, through using the muscle testing to see how things are improving. We do complete reevaluations at the end of your program. So typically an initial consultation with me, it costs $299. And if you're watching this now and you mention our talk today, then we can apply a $50 discount to that, bringing the price to $249. If you have any questions on the work that we do, how that initial consult works, and please feel free to reach out either through a private message or through a comment, am happy to take the time to give you that information. That's all tonight for our talk on poop. I hope that you took some things away. I hope there were some things that surprised you. If you have anyone who you feel like this information would be beneficial for, then I do ask you to share it with them. And I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm going to be talking about inflammatory foods next week and some healthy swaps that you can make. So I look forward to seeing you next Thursday at 5:30. And like as always, all these videos are up on our Facebook page. So if you can't join live, then you can always catch the replay. And thanks so much again. Have a good night.